All right, Quickbase community, welcome back. Day 2 of Empower 2021. I hope you enjoyed yesterday. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of our new announcements. We've been spending a lot of time, and our whole year, especially from a product and engineering perspective, sort of centers around our Empower event and the announcements that Jay and his team make on day 1. So we're really excited, anticipating sharing all of those with you. So today we're going to pivot a little bit. I want to highlight a little bit of our mission. You know, this is something, as someone who was new to Quickbase about a year ago, sat down with my team and a lot of the folks that have been here a long time to say, like, what are we about? Like, what's our why? And how is that going to guide us as we think about our future and where we go and investments we make and where we go with our product? And we came up with this, and it's stuck, and it's something that means a lot to all of us internally at Quickbase. And we talk about our mission being unlocking potential. And I think if you're a coach or a parent or a teacher, I think you get how exciting that is to unlock the potential of other human beings and teams and whole companies is motivating, it's exciting, it's exhilarating. And so we see that as our mission, to unlock your potential and adapt, specifically unlocking potential on adapting if things like the pandemic and your supply chain gets blown up, or whole new ways of doing business, or overnight you have to move from working in offices to working at home, that kind of intense coming at you sort of change that's required, or innovation. Now a lot of companies are coming flying out of the past year. They're finding new ways to do business that's driving tremendous growth. Either way, we see it as our objective to help you unlock your potential by adapting and innovate quickly. Speed is the variable that's most important. And so we see unlocking potential of your systems and data as first and foremost what we hear from you is most important. We did a survey of our base and broader of just buyers of low-code, no-code platforms. What's most important to you? Ability to integrate with existing platforms and tools. You've spent years and millions of hours and millions of dollars building systems and systems of record and connecting them, and you have critical information. You want to be able to get at that, accessing that, unlocking that potential. That's what's so frustrating with so many of the systems that we've been using prior to Quickbase. You can't get at the data that you need, and the systems don't do what you want them to do. And so first and foremost, we see helping unlock, and that's why we made such big investments in pipeline and APIs and ways for you to easily integrate and extract the value of that important data. But the second, and this is a little bit of a maturity model, it's unlocking the potential of business technologists, business users. You know, people that sit between the 30 million or so professional developers and the almost 2 billion knowledge workers. There's a group, and all of you in this audience are in that group, that want to be self-solving problems. You don't have maybe a coding background, many of you, most of you, but you want to solve problems. You want to do them yourself for you and your team. And most of our engagements start here. They start with an individual that has a problem, and somehow we get connected and we help show them that they can self-solve on our platform. And so that's exhilarating because it's getting people that up to this point maybe had to wait for IT, or they're looking for budget, or they're trying to find a point solution that doesn't exist to solve a problem, and we give them the tools and the ability to do so. The second is most organizations from there migrate, they mature. They're more of a blended team, a fusion team, a group of people who want to collaborate and come together. And we go from maybe a builder or two to groups of builders. You go from maybe a couple processes or systems they're connected with to many. And you go from maybe the users that are using the applications they built, go from tens to hundreds or even thousands. A lot of times we're connecting a lot within a line of business or within a certain function in the company, and they're really seeing the platform as not just solving a problem, but a range of problems to drive productivity across that whole function. And then the ultimate level of maturity, where some of our largest customers, and this sometimes takes quite a lot of time to get to an extended enterprise that embraces Quickbase as an end-to-end platform to connect your teams, to connect the business functions within your company, connect data from a range of your systems, even beyond your company, even into your suppliers or your vendors. I mean, we see these phases, and we're thrilled to help unlock value at each phase. And yesterday and today and the remainder of this week, you'll hear a lot of where we're focusing moving forward is helping at each of those stages and capabilities in our platform and services and whatnot. But what we're also trying to do is, what do we do and what can we do to help you unlock value between each stage? That's where we see sometimes companies can get stuck. So first and foremost, it's around how do we make it easy for a new business technologist, either in a new company that's just exposed to Quickbase, or maybe a new individual within an existing company that's never used us or heard of us before. How do we make that path to their aha moment? We talk a lot internally about these aha moments when people actually really get what's possible and the types and the complexity of the problems they can solve on Quickbase. How do we make that happen faster? Time to aha moment. And so a lot of the released information that we were sharing about our user interface and user experience, and even the partnership with folks like Lucid, just to make it easier to people conceptualize to application, idea to automation. I mean, that's our ambition. And all along, they have to be trusted by IT. They can't be this silo that's not trusted. It has to be trusted by IT the whole way. So that's been a lot of our announcements you see in that vein. The second then is, how do we help organizations move into that broader use? And that becomes more about community. How do we help more people share knowledge across a team? How do we help them share more applications that maybe were useful in one plant at another plant, or were useful in one part of the marketing team into another part of the marketing team? The Appathons that I described briefly yesterday are a great example of this, where you take a champion who really sees tremendous value in their use case and start to expose what's possible to many people across a company. And you see real value. That's when you start to get into real productivity gains and real efficiency improvements, when you have teams or functions and business units embracing the platform. So a lot of our services you'll see in some of these packages in particular are aimed at this journey from business technologist to a blended team. And then finally, what have we been doing to help a whole enterprise embrace us as a standard? And that's where a lot of our governance and visibility and platform analytics and even the reuse of applications and a lot of our third-party add-ons and the communities of sharing those add-ons, and a lot of our QSPs provide tremendous services for centers of excellence. And how do you do this broadly at scale, not for tens, but hundreds or thousands of applications or tens of thousands of employees, both employees and supply chain and people outside your company? How do we really get into that consumption-based pricing so you're not limited and hampered by the number of users and a user-based license when you get into a standardized platform across the enterprise? And we're proud of the work we've done in each of these areas. We'll continue to lean in at each of these stages, but also at the gaps that exist between these stages in people's journeys. Because if we can get you there, and we've seen this for thousands of companies, small, medium, and large, that as the platform, as Quickbase gets standardized company-wide, as it's leveraged across a range of functions and complex processes and disparate systems, tremendous value is realized. And we see a pattern. There's 4 areas in particular where we see value exposed. One is many, if not most of our customers really see us as a platform for accelerating continuous improvement. Business process improvement and lean initiatives and Kaizen in the auto industry. See these companies that are trying to find more efficiency and more speed and more innovation, and we're a platform to help manage that and visualize that in their organization and even track it. Improving the connections between the line of business and IT is the second major value. We don't see these as opposing, but it's a unification. Citizen automation is when they come together to work together. Those who understand how to build trustworthy, secure applications, and those who know the problems because they live at the edge of the business and they deal with them every day. How do we bring that together? The third is proactively managing risk. You see a lot of our customers use this as a platform to both track and to monitor, and then even with auditors, financial risk, cyber risk, privacy risk, various forms of risk in their business. And then finally, and I've talked earlier about this, business agility. When the world gets turned upside down, like it has for all of us this past year, how do we empower you to quickly respond to either threats to your business or opportunities as they emerge? One way that Quickbase delivers tremendous value is around organizations that are trying to accelerate continuous improvement. Where oftentimes it's a challenge because the people with the expertise of how to simplify and streamline and make a process more efficient are disconnected from those that own and manage technology and tools to do that. And so One organization that we've helped bring that together for more than 30 global enterprises is Accenture, and specifically the operations team at Accenture. And I spent a few minutes with Rich Price, who's a managing director of that team, to talk about how they've embraced Quickbase as a means to drive continuous improvement for some of the world's leading brands. I want to cut to that video now. All right, welcome Quickbase community. I'm really excited to announce Rich Price. Rich is a managing director at Accenture, and they have really started to embrace the Quickbase platform for continuous improvement in many of their larger clients around the world. So first, welcome, Rich.
Thanks, Ed. Good to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, maybe you could start with just some context for the audience. Your role at Accenture and the type of projects and clients that you're involved in.
Yeah, I've been with Accenture about 30 years now in a variety of different roles. I've seen a lot of technology come and go. I'm currently responsible for all the applications that support our BPO business. That means they have to be secure, available, and delivering results, all while being very cost effective.
Fantastic. And how have you been involved with Quickbase? How long have you guys been using it, and how has it evolved within Accenture in the practice?
Our journey has started about 3 years ago. Quickbase is part of our intelligent automation technology suite. That includes workflow, low code, RPA, and AI and analytics. We use those to deliver innovation at speed and scale. Quickbase as a platform has allowed us to engage citizen developers in building and enhancing the workflows. For example, our innovation teams in North America have monthly hackathons. Anyone can participate. We get up to 10 teams per location working to identify solutions for a bottleneck or a specific client use case that they've encountered. They come up with some great ideas and use Quickbase to build those out, all in less than 4 or 5 hours. We can then fully bake the best ones into part of our service delivery going forward.
Fantastic. And you mentioned citizen automation specifically. I'd love to double click on that. You guys see a lot of the world's biggest companies dealing with a lot of opportunities to innovate and challenges. Where do you see citizen development, especially the Quickbase flavor of it, really come to play?
People get frustrated when their ideas can't get implemented. And a lot of times when you have to go through a formal IT process and get business cases done and track every hour that's being spent, that can be pretty difficult and pretty dispiriting for the people who are trying to get things done. The people doing the work know the work the best, and when they have ideas, you want to be able to encourage that, and it's great to see that blossom. So that's where we try to use it and let the citizens go forward and take on new challenges.
Fantastic. And what would be some of those when you saw Quickbase? There are options in the marketplace. What were some of the, critical capabilities that you saw on our platform that you said, wow, this can empower these citizen developers, these citizen builders?
It's easy to train people into it. It's just a couple of weeks for people to get started, and it's very flexible. Once they've started, they can quickly adapt the application. We can give them a base in a couple of days, and then they take it from there. As you start seeing the ability to improve your role, you just take on more and more, and the word of mouth starts to spread. People start to tell their friends, and that's where the power really comes into play. Instead of forwarding spreadsheets around as part of their job, they actually start to work together, and the data's in a single place, and they can build on top of each other's ideas.
So Rich, bring this together for us. We've talked a lot about challenges and desired outcomes and critical capabilities, but what's a great example of somebody that you were able to help leverage the Quickbase platform to achieve some great outcomes?
There's an application that we inherited from another part of Accenture about 6 or 7 years ago. It was running for 2 critical clients in Europe, and it's been in place for a long time. There's a few developers that still know it out of Spain. There's a few operations people out of England that still know it, but it's really not where they want to be with their career. They've all moved on to other things, and it's sort of a part-time job. Anytime there was a problem with it, or anytime it needs to be upgraded for third-party software or security reasons, applying patches, any of that stuff. So we finally got tired enough of it. We engaged the Quickbase team, and in about 3 weeks, they rebuilt the application. delivered it to both of those client teams. We had a hiccup or two the first week, but they resolved all the problems very quickly, and now it's in and running. Those other teams are freed up. We've got it supported by our central team, and the cost reduction is about 65% on the operations side, because it's fully integrated and seamless with the other Quickbase applications. The same team supporting it. There's no special requirements, and we don't have to worry about those pesky upgrades as much.
So Rich, I've seen a video. It was put together, I understand, by an Accenture team on one of your large client engagements. And it was them singing a song they wrote about the Quickbase platform to the melody of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. What was that? What was that all about?
You know the way I take that, users love working with Quickbase, and they talk it up, and that gets others on board, and it becomes a virtuous circle instead of a vicious cycle, right? And that really brings more interest to the platform. And when clearly you have to love a platform to write a song about it, that really makes me smile, because it shows me that people are excited about the capabilities and the fact that they're able to improve things and see it right then and there.
Fantastic. Well, Rich, I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for being such a great partner to Quickbase.
Thanks, Ed.
One of the ways that Quickbase delivers tremendous value is helping organizations accelerate continuous improvement. Initiatives for business process improvement, or Lean, or Six Sigma, or in the auto industry, Kaizen. We help them connect those with the expertise at the edge of the business with the means and the technology and the tools that oftentimes sit on the technology side, and bring them together to have the visibility and the mechanism to solve those problems. And one great story around that is that Keller and Associates, and Laura Linssen is a long time and very successful Quickbase builder with tremendous energy. And we had a great conversation the other day about how they've been evolving, maturing their use of Quickbase for continuous improvement. I'd love to roll that video now. I really want to welcome Laura Linssen from Keller. I wanted to spend some time with Laura because they're longtime Quickbase users and really a model for how someone leverages our platform for accelerating continuous improvement. So first off, Laura, welcome.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe you could share some context of you and your role and Keller, your business. Let's start there.
Sure. So I'm a process automation analyst at Keller and Associates, and we are a safety and regulatory compliance solutions company. So really our main goal is to make sure people are safe and people get home safely. So how can you not love that goal, right?
Fantastic. And let's talk about some of the challenges that you guys have sort of gotten through. So you guys use legacy systems. I mean, SAP is a big application for you guys, manual processes, siloed data. Like, how have you gotten through all that, and how have you leveraged Quickbase to get through all that?
So the biggest thing with any legacy system or anything that we use is communication. So you'd like to have your systems communicate to each other. So things that we found is by working on these and working with the whole company on it, is that we can take processes from A to Z and use Quickbase to leverage those so that they communicate from system to system or from application to application. So therefore, people are entering it once, it's going through the whole cycle in order to use that, and everyone can see what's happening, going through the whole process.
So do you actually have Quickbase interfacing and pulling information from some of these systems, or how do you?
Yes. So we either have it hooked in where it pulls the information from or to. We actually just had our first one actually speak to SAP. So that was a huge thing for us to do that. So that was exciting. We also have, just manual loads into Quickbase, and then the rest of that process is done in the application that we had set up.
Great. So they don't have to be sort of ERP experts to have end-to-end visibility.
Exactly. And a lot of the times, these suggestions that people send us, we always say, give us these ideas that might seem, off the wall crazy ideas, because, my tagline for Quickbase Ed is, if you can't do it natively, do it creatively. So if we can't build it like we have come up with some really creative ways on how to do it.
You also had another expression that I loved, and maybe you could share what this one means: a Care Bear riding a unicorn.
Yes, I love my Care Bear riding unicorn. So as you map out a process, you want to get your current state, and then you want to get your ideal state. And most people call it ideal state, but I call it a Care Bear riding a unicorn state, because it's really, what would be more fantastic than seeing a Care Bear riding a unicorn? Now, I was asked what Care Bear it would be, and I would go with Sunshine Bear.
Interesting choice, because it's cold in Wisconsin. You can't get enough sunshine.
Exactly.
I love it. So in terms of Care Bear riding unicorn sort of outcomes, like when you look about your BPI process and Quickbase to visualize those outcomes, like what are you aiming for? Like what are the business outcomes that you guys strive for as a company?
So what we really, look at how we measure those things is we look at time savings and cost savings and satisfaction. What is the customer experience? And especially, with us, safety and quality, to make sure that we're measuring on those.
Fantastic. And these are all in Quickbase itself now.
Yes.
I love it. You guys really over the years have gone from sort of you and a handful of people being sort of builders and solving a couple of problems to more broader teams to now, it really is an extended enterprise use case. How have you driven that adoption? How have you gotten more and more people engaged on the platform, more and more people using it for continuous improvement?
When I first started using it, we had one application that had multiple tables in it. And, it was one of those things where, IT ran it, IT controlled it, sort of thing. And then I got on the scene and kind of blew it up, because once we get that, going and had all these different things, these different groups using it, it really speaks for itself. And it's really kind of cool because you create little mini monsters, because once someone sees what it can do and sees how easy it is, then it's like this landslide of ideas where they're like, oh, we can do this. Oh, we can do that. And, you go into meetings and, they're talking about their different processes, and you get to be that fantastic yes person. Like, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. And the excitement that people have. But not only that, with the people bringing the ideas for it, there are people that just naturally take to Quickbase as far as a builder, and they get really excited. Like, it is so cool to see someone go, oh my goodness, I built this and now it's doing this, and it was so easy. So really, then I like to, pick out little super users and super builders, and, always encourage them, go out to the university. The university is fantastic for, training them on it. And then I usually say, you know what, let's have some time with me, because then I'll show you some creative things that you can do outside of it. And they get really excited about it. So we have built this Quickbase network at JJ Keller to have all of those builders come together and really discuss and, talk about all the things that are coming out. And, when you guys publish any updates that are going out, what does that mean to them, and how do they leverage that to use that in their stuff?
That's awesome. Final question. If someone were to ask you from the outside, about Quickbase and really for the purpose of this acceleration, continuous improvement that you guys really, really embraced it for, what would be those critical capabilities that you say that Quickbase uniquely brings that really empowers that continuous improvement?
Well, I love when people always use the what can Quickbase do? And I usually say, what can't Quickbase do? Because there's so many different things. Especially now with pipelines, you basically threw open the doors of things to do. There's so many uses for it, so many capabilities to tie into, native channels and really get your workflow moving from systems to system, because that communication from different systems is such a huge thing. And it's always constantly looking for continuous improvement. even some things that like I may have done last year, we revisit and look to see what is a newer technology. Can we use something else? Can a pipeline actually do what we've manually been doing? And a lot of times it's yes. And so it's that constant improvement with technology that you're always looking to, upgrade and use and have it talk and speak for itself.
I love that. Well, listen, Laura, thank you so much for joining today, and thanks for your advocacy and showing us what's possible on the Quickbase platform, and enjoy the rest of your Empower event.
I will. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Another way that Quickbase delivers tremendous value is around improving the IT and line of business partnership. Oftentimes, businesses are struggling to push innovation to the edge and allow their organization to innovate and develop their own applications closest to the problem by people who know it best in the business, but still manage security and controls and visibility that's required by a global centralized IT organization. And one of the organizations that's at the cutting edge of this relationship is Mondelez. And Javir Polit is the CIO of Mondelez. He was the former CIO at P&G and the Coca-Cola Company. We are fortunate to call him a board member at Quickbase. He and I had the chance to talk briefly about how they've really transformed the unity between IT and the business. I'd love to show you that video now. Javir, really appreciate you joining us today. And you've been a champion for low code, no code, citizen automation for a long time. Maybe you could just share a little bit of your journey at major Fortune 500 companies, how you've really driven this.
Yeah, look, it's been exciting, and you really seen the growth and understanding from the Coca-Cola days to the Procter & Gamble days to now with the Mondelez family, right? And you're seeing the shifts, and how you have to build ambassadors in the enterprise and the adoption as there more awareness, right? Gartner's informing us that in a few years, 70% of all apps will be low code, no code. And I think we talk a race for talent, but it's a race to that positioning, because you really enable the edges of the business to be a lot more productive and a lot more agile.
But you're progressive, you're a thought leader, you're at the front of this. I mean, there's a lot of times there's a struggle between sort of an IT group that has responsibility for security and reliability and governance of things like applications and data. And then on the other, there's people at the edge, people in the business, they want to move fast. They need to be responsive and build apps and automate. How do you reconcile these sometimes conflicting, different perspectives?
Yeah, look, and I have the privilege of the complication to own all those pieces, right? Listen, if you can't empower the edge of the business, we cannot cover the sun with our thumb. There's just too much demand for IT, right? And you really need to empower the edges of the business. And the way that we do this, we build a framework. It's a very clear framework, and there's freedom in that framework. Go learn hands-on keyboard with low-code, no-code tools like Quickbase. Here's your data repositories. You manage the data at the edges of the business. You're going to decide what data sources are going to come in and out at the edges of the business. And get hands-on keyboard. Use Quickbase, get your insights, and go to market as fast as you can.
You've got a lot of people that aspire to do what you've done in organizations like Mondelez. And so, I want to talk a little bit about how you've been successful doing this. Like, is this just you rock up one day and say, boom, we're doing citizen development, or is it more of a phase thing? What have you found is the best approach?
Well, look, there's certainly, you have to create awareness, right? And you have to basically have ambassadors. And we always know those business leaders that are business partners that really lean forward on technology and really want to digitize. And once you identify them, you leverage them. You bring them in, you make them very knowledgeable on the platforms and the strategies that they go and build it inside of their functions, And I'll give you a simple example. I was talking about this to the executive team. And, when you hear the CEO talking about low code, no code and referring to Quickbase, you've made progress. But the greatest progress is when one of the executive vice presidents of supply chain says, hey, how come nobody's come and talked to me about this? Because you built this in sales and you built this in finance. And how about me? And sees the power of it. And then later on starts talking about low code, no code. You've won that understanding or that challenge, and make sure that the business is aware, and more importantly, aware of the capability. And you can build these things in weeks.
You guys are really also at the forefront of leveraging the power of communities of practice and code repositories and across facilities around the world. Like, talk a little bit about that, because that really is cutting edge.
Yeah, look, besides enabling the edges of the business with these technologies, right? How do you build a common repository that everybody could go to and say, I may be in sales in EMEA, and I may be sales in Latin America, and those markets are somewhat similar. Let me go see what they did for their sales function in Latin America, because I have a need also. And then you go and see what's been built. You take that, maybe it's only 70 or 80%, but that's 3/4 of the work. And then you just build an extension to it or modify it as to what you need in EMEA. And then you really start getting greater velocity, so you have the author, the business function that built it, and the use case that it's built for. So now, no different than coders over the last 5-10 years been using GitHub and other platforms, right? I joke around with the developers of today and the data scientists saying, writing code now and algorithms is easier. You guys go to the library, it's 70% done. And then I date myself. I had to write in COBOL. I had to start from scratch. So, but anyway, it's that idea, right? And it's worked really, really well for us.
That's fantastic. I heard an expression that code is a liability, that there's so much inherent risk in it. And the more we can get to standardize and visual and democratize, the better. So listen, I can't thank you enough for joining us today and your advocacy for Quickbase and for the category in general. It's just fantastic what you're doing at Mondelez, and we're grateful. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Ed. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. And thank you for these tools that you're driving through the industry. It's making a big change for a lot of companies.
And another very common way that Quickbase delivers tremendous value is proactively managing risk as a platform for governance, risk, and compliance. And organizations are constantly on the back foot as regulations are shifting, as things like cybersecurity become more intense, and they're struggling to keep up with requirement changes and tracking and showing both their own organization and leaders and board as well as external auditors that they are in control and managing these risks. And nobody is closer to this than KPMG. I had the opportunity to sit down with Jonathan Dambrot, who runs the third-party cyber risk program for KPMG. And we talked a lot about how together Quickbase and KPMG are helping some of their largest customers proactively and continually monitor for third-party security risk. I'd love to show you that conversation now. Jonathan, really great to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Ed, how's everything going? Great to be here.
Yeah, things are going great. So we read a lot. Even people not in the cyber world are reading constantly about cybersecurity and the risk it imposes on businesses. Help us understand the sort of the intensity of this risk for all companies.
Yeah, this has become a tremendous issue. In fact, KPMG did a survey of CEOs recently. We do this every year, and this year was interesting because cyber was the #1 risk that was identified by CEOs globally that said, this is a problem for our business. We need to tackle this. This is the thing that's creating pressure. And if you look at what's creating breaches in the cyber realm, 60% or more of those breaches are coming from third parties. And so this presents a massive opportunity, but also a major challenge because we've been at this for a while, and unfortunately, it just keeps getting worse and worse. So it's getting highly recognized as a business risk, and now we have an opportunity and an obligation as a community to go solve this problem.
And by third-party risk, you mean a supplier of mine or someone who's hosting my website or something like that?
Yeah, anyone that you're sharing data, that has access to systems, people that are part of your supply chain. We're finding a lot of these risks haven't been identified over time, but now they're presenting themselves, right? You're seeing breaches that on a weekly basis are starting to impact your supply chains. And I think they're becoming more apparent now because of some of the digital transformation requirements that businesses have. You're starting to see more vendors getting introduced into different parts of the business. And again, they're now part of your supply. They're now part of the process. And it's becoming more, apparent how important understanding the relationship and ensuring that they can manage the security of your data as well.
So I guess hackers are targeting the weakest link in the chain, if you will.
Absolutely, they always will, right? They don't want to they want to make it as easy as possible. And certainly in a lot of cases, third parties represent a better target than a primary target.
And why is that hard? If you have a range of suppliers and part of your sort of digital environment or ecosystem, why is it hard to track and manage that risk in particular?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that have happened. And the reality of the situation is most organizations do this through a questionnaire, a spreadsheet. They're going to their third parties. There's a lot of this data that's coming in, and it just gets very messy, right? How do we look at that? How do we have enough people to talk to the vendors? How do we bring it together? And a lot of people get stuck in just the administrative burden of making that happen, and also understanding the output of all of that stuff. How risky is this vendor? How do I make a decision? And unfortunately, to get this to scale requires a different way to do it than what historically we've done, in a more manual way.
Yeah, and help us understand that scale. So a major manufacturer, a major bank, or some Fortune 500, how many of these sort of vendors would they have to assess?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, you're seeing organizations of any size. They could have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of vendors, right? You just don't think about globally how many vendors are part of the ecosystem. And in a lot of cases, they just don't even know. They don't know how many people are engaged and how many vendors. And you start seeing the implication of that as you start really trying to understand the risk process. And so, you start bringing that larger number who, in some cases, there may not be risk presented. So you could even have landscapers in that. Maybe those are lower risk. But a lot of times, the vendors that are part of your supply chain may be getting data you just don't even know about, and they present risk. And so let's say you have 100,000 vendors or even 50,000 vendors, there may be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 that may be part of that requirement and ecosystem. And those are some of the largest clients we have. In other cases, even mid-sized organizations have hundreds of vendors that are part of their supply chains. And even in that case, it becomes really hard to do manually and aggregate all this data and make sure that you make good decisions. And frankly, even hire people because they haven't been part of the core, the core selling and design and development and production part of your business. So this becomes the challenge, is really how much do you dedicate? How do you make sure that this is efficient? And then how do you make better decisions?
What were the sort of the Quickbase critical capabilities that had you choose us and made us particularly appropriate for this third-party risk use case?
I think there were a couple of areas, right? So the ability to use pipelines and connect to systems was one of the critical capabilities. The ability to easily develop some of those workflows and really drive iteration, especially as OSCAL was changing rapidly and things that we needed to combine to make this work. Quickbase just was a natural platform to really support those initiatives. And in fact, we're going to have a session where we're actually going to show how we thought about this, how we did this together, how to actually start preparing for this. And so I'm excited about that as well. Hopefully people can join us for that.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think people are really excited to see that, where the actual demonstration of how it was spec'd and built together with KPMG and Quickbase transforming assessment process. So really exciting. So Jonathan, can't thank you enough for joining us today and partnering with us on this really, really important business critical need, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me.
So again, to close out the keynote here on the second day, I just want to reiterate, this is a mission we feel so strongly about, that Quickbase unlocks your organizations and you individually, your potential to adapt and innovate at speed. It's a mission we have great energy and motivation around. And I hope that you enjoyed some of our interviews with some of our customers who are doing just that at some of the most preeminent names in business. So now we pivot. We've got a great afternoon, and I think this is for many of you the highlight of the Empower event, where you get to spend real time in smaller groups with our product leaders, with our engineering team leads, to really dive deep into the latest announcements and innovations. We also have some networking events so you guys can spend time with each other. We know we're still virtual. We'll be back together next year, but this is still a good way to keep connections and friendships that you guys have built over the years. So please enjoy. Look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Thank you very much.